This is WRC-TV, Channel 4, Washington, D.C. at 6 o'clock. And it is time now for News 4 Washington, the 6 o'clock report for this Tuesday, July 25th, 1972, with Glenn Rinker and the news. Blake Cates and the sports, and Willard and the weather. And now, Glenn Rinker and Fred Thomas. Good evening, everybody, on this July 25th, 1972. I'm Glenn Rinker, and here's what's happening. Loyola Federal Savings and Loan Association of Baltimore, the largest savings and loan institution in Maryland, has been ordered to pay $167,910 in civil damages for having defrauded 4 construction firms of money owed them for work on 2 Prince George's County apartment projects in the mid-60s. In an opinion issued Friday and made available yesterday, Montgomery County Circuit Court Judge Walter H. Moorman ruled Loyola participated in fraudulent and deceitful acts to take control of the apartment projects and large parcels of available and developed land to surrounding them. The decision was the latest development in a series of trials resulting from an 18-month investigation in the late 1960s of suburban Maryland developers and politicians by the Internal Revenue Service and the U.S. Attorney for Maryland. The investigation led to convictions of federal bribery charges earlier this year of Ralph D. Rocks, a suburban Washington developer, and former Prince George's County Commissioner Jesse S. Baggett. Loyola was linked as a financial backer of Rocks in the earlier trials, but Moorman's decision was the first to hold the institution guilty of wrongdoing. Was that the first award of civil damages to construction firms who contended that they were the real losers in the financial manipulations of Rocks, Loyola officials and others. And in court, these construction subcontractors contended that the money owed them was a part of more than $1 million, and it was diverted to Rocks from
goes through my mind is that kind of pain that people now have.
In Cairo, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat said today that the Soviet Union yesterday overly cautious response to the American military buildup of Israel had caused him to ask for the departure of Russian military advisors. He implicitly criticized Soviet leaders of misleading them on how much military support they would be given Egypt. I have no alternative, Sadat said. He added that Egypt must be positioned to assess everything in detail and accurately. He apparently implied that the Soviets were not given an Egyptian precise information on what to expect and ever what else to expect. Egypt was ready to stand alone on the battlefield if need be, but the Egyptian president vowed. He poured bitter scorn on American willingness to arrange peace and gave no indication that any new peace bid was on the horizon. 45 minutes after Sadat finished his marathon speech of almost 4 hours, Egypt forced to shut down an Israeli offensive jet bomber over the Suez Canal area, a military spokesman said. Sadat portrayed himself as a leader who had been misled both by the United States, which promised help in the getting peace, but went back on a pledge in the Soviet Union, which promised him the means to make war, but withheld them. He made evident with his frustration with the superpowers and indicated that Egypt must be turned to a policy of self-reliance while seeking more help from the Arab world than perhaps Western Europe to pressure America, which has been the means of pressure Israel.
Just released, allegedly showing the former patriot holding a gun on the knife at
In London, wildcat strikes spread today across Britain. Yesterday, protests in a jail and 5 doctors and a raising a specter of a total nationwide walkout. The stoppage, led by 42,000 longshoremen, shut down the country's ports, landed 200 ships, and diverted thousands and dozens of overseas. Pressures were building up on the giant trade union Congress, which represents 10 million organized workers, to call the country's first general strike in half a century. The 5 dock workers were jailed last Friday for contempt of the National Industrial Relations Court. They defied a court order to cease picketing and boycotting container ports, which introduced simplified cargo handling methods regarded by the workers as a threatening their jobs. The protest quickly gathered momentum. Miners left their pits. Printers walked out, leaving London without newspapers for the second straight day. Workers quit the capital's meat, fish, and vegetable markets. Fishermen refused to unload their catches. Drivers parked their trucks
to the industrial park
throughout the country, warning that they will all be off to the words in 2 days. The development crisis was a further blow to Britain's conservative government, already fighting high unemployment and rampant inflation while trying to halt the Catholic partisan conflict in Northern Ireland. Trade union Congress leaders trooped to an emergency night conference with Prime Minister Edward Heath carrying a demand for the release of the jailed longshoremen. In Moscow, Asap Bratsky, a 32-year-old Russian port who left the Soviet Union under pressure from the secret police KGB, have appealed on the day that his departure to the Communist Party chief Leonid Brezhnev for the right to return and live out to his creative life in his homeland. The Leningrad port was in international reputation, although his work has never been published yet. It left the Soviet Union on June 4th. Today he left the Senate letter containing an appeal to Brezhnev. The letter was not become available in Moscow. Brodsky will be a veteran and resident at the University of Michigan this year. His friends say that he will be told to leave the country and he was not hopeful of getting permission to return. Brodsky had expressed interest in going abroad in the past, but never said that he wanted to become a permanent exile. And his friends report that in 1964, Brodsky was tried and convicted of being a parasite and subsequently served 18 months in a labor camp. He had never been regarded as a political poet. However, his works have been circulated widely among Moscow and Leningrad intellectuals, and they seem to be a violation of West Virginia mine safety laws has caused 9 men to be trapped without hope for a recovery of a mile underground in a coal mine in Blacksville, West Virginia. The reform candidate for president of the United Mine Workers Union said yesterday. Arnold Mills said heavy equipment will be moved Saturday in the mine's main shaft, brushed again electrified overhead trolley wires, making a spark that touched off the fire. He told newsmen in Blacksville that some miners were on the downside of the equipment when the incident occurred, although the state law requires all miners to be evacuated to the open air side of a shaft when equipment is being moved. The Monongalia County prosecutor who had jurisdiction over the Blacksville mine said he would request a report from the State Department of Mines that the cause of the accident would take it.
Move forward with better awareness and understanding of these types of things.
The White House said yesterday that the government of Southeast Asia are making substantial progress in seminar for illicit narcotics to the United States. Presidential Assistant Egil Krug Jr. told reporters that a cabinet-level report cited corruption and interference in narcotics enforcement by Thailand and South Vietnam is not up to date. He said a report combined by officials with the Central Intelligence Agency, State Department, and the Defense Department was submitted last February, but in the last 4 months there has been substantial progress. A few hours ago, however, later on, Senator Vince Harkey, Democrat of Indiana, introduced a last-minute amendment to the Foreign Assistance Act to forbid further economic and military aid to Thailand because of its major role in the international narcotics traffic. The Senate defeated the amendment last night on a vote of 6 to 7 to 22. Harkey criticized President Nixon for failing to withdraw aid to Thailand despite a provision of the Foreign Assistance Act that follows and allows the president to suspend aid to any nation that doesn't take action to halt the block market narcotics exports. The president's inaction said he did in the face of hard evidence that the Thailand serves as a conduit for the return shipment of opium produced in.
If it's arson related, the flames broke out early this
The Senate killed the Foreign Aid Bill 4842 last night after critics of President Nixon's Vietnam policies have been succeeded for the first time and added a mandatory end the war amendment of a 4946. Roll call. Vote the end the war language required to pull out of all U.S. land and sea and air forces from Indochina within 4 months, provided North Vietnam first released American prisoners. Never before had the Senate voted to cut off funds and impose a flat binding withdrawal requirement on all previous successful end the war. Votes were merely declarations in the sense of the Senate provisions and weren't binding because they didn't provide for any enforcement mechanism and the president chose to ignore them. However, adoption of the end of the war language led directly to defeat the 1.8 million foreign military aid authorization to which it was attached. Immediately after the 49 to 46 vote approving the fund cut off, Minority Leader Hugh Scott Penfield rose to warn that the Senate was invited in a veto to the aid bill. Scott said he would be vote against the bill and work for its defeat. The Republican leader said the end of the war language would be undermined the president's efforts to negotiate an honorable peace. On a final 48-42 vote, a number of administration joy
and national competitive
goals to elect Scott Republican Whip Robert F. Griffin, Michigan, linked up with the traditional foes of the aid program and former supporters who are now critical of the supported military dictatorship. By the time the vote came shortly after 9 p.m., a number of senators who might have supported the bill, like Vice Presidential candidate Thomas C. Eagleton, Democrat of Missouri, and Edmund S. Muskie, Democrat of Maine, had left the chamber in the assumption that the passage would come mainly on a routine vote. President candidate George McGovern, Democrat of South Dakota, was absent and missed all votes yesterday. The administration's top economic policymakers said that yesterday that the expanding economy is reaching a critical point and warned that government spending must be controlled to prevent a rekindling of a heavy demand and introduce inflation. Herbert Steiner, chairman of the Council on Economic Affairs, was told to the Congressional Joint Economic Committee that the key preventing an explosion of demand is to keep the budget from exploding. He warned that the Congress should not rely on the tax reforms or tax increases to provide funds for the increased spending over the president's requested $250 billion spending ceiling. Stein said one of the first ways to hold down spending is to stop some of the bills that are floating around the Congress. He did not specify, but health and education are two categories in which Congress has voted a bigger outlays than the presidential ask. Treasury Secretary George Shultz an afternoon press conference where it said that the fiscal next day to which ended by June 30th, the budget was part of by $23 billion, far below 38.
It's an IIHS top safety trick to help your family safely stay and play this summer. From Cape Cod
In United Nations, Secretary General Kurt Wong UN said yesterday that he had private and unofficial information from Hanoi that the United States was bombing the decks of North Vietnam and appealed to Washington to stop it. Without directly challenging the Nixon administration position that the United States had avoided and deliberate targeted and intended to damage the decks, Wong cited reports that damage is intentional or not. He appealed to the United States to avoid the kind of action which could lead to an enormous disaster and enormous human suffering. Dozens of persons would die. This has to be avoided. The Secretary General's statement made in press conference on the day of his return to work after a 3-week trip to Geneva, Vienna, Poland, and the Soviet Union touched a nerve of extreme sensitivity in Washington. As Secretary of State Rogers reacted with a statement that we cannot consider helpful in any public statement given the further currency to these reports. UN Ambassador George Bush was in Washington.
From double tax-free discount sale going on now at Parkman's in Worcester.
Clark Range, Tennessee. If it had been a project concerned Patty Passett 16 of Fairfax would have been spent the past 2 weeks of her summer vacation babysitting, hanging around the pool, or watching TV soap operas, or maybe getting a job at Geno's. Instead, she and over 20 of her Northern Virginia teenagers found themselves clearing the land, building tables, and digging ditches 8 hours a day, 6 days a week for a medical clinic here in the foothills of the Seven Appalachians. News for us, Jim Vance has a report. A clinic, 2 medically equipped vans, and 7 apartment house. Trailers will be based here. The vans will make trips up to the switchback mounted roads known by hamlets such as Hanging Limb, Little Crab, and Shop Pines. It will be served 7 remote mountain counties of north central Tennessee midway between Knoxville and Nashville, where doctors also almost non-existent and where clinic fees are often paid in quite bags of walnuts. It was a long way from task according to both geography and culture, and for 18 girls and 3 boys of Northern Virginia, most of them Burlington Senior High School, said there were some adjustments during their 2-week stay that most had never camped before. They do their own well water, dug their own privates and garbage pits, and slept in revolvable tents borrowed from the Ozone Presbyterian campus nearby. Guam County. Pam Dugan, 15 of Vietnam, had lived in France and Norway, and Carol Ferguson Alexander had crossed the country 6 times in 15 years. None of the group had ever before visited World South. They attended a Sunday night revival at the Midway Free Will Baptist Church. That ditch was under the guidance of Billy Bilbo and Ray Bubble from a nearby Ron Watkins, and such that Central Regional Taste Street says as an imitation peach soda from Crescent's Esso Station and General Store, and a half-mile walk down the road. They suffered 1 brief case of flu, 1 lost fill, and several splintered hammered handles, and unaccounted blisters and hammered thumbs. It's a little strange first, said Marty Stevenson, 16 of Alexander, an intense dark-haired youth in a T-shirt amazing. What in Jesus Christ, but if you want to get too used to it, it's a beautiful youth said. The Clark Range Project was one of 36 ventures and concern for the young people and launched this summer at 13 sites across the country by Project concerning international nonprofit medical and dental program based in San Diego. The range from the community repairs where the awestruck Indians in Holton, Maine to overhauling a pediatric clinic in Tijuana, Mexico. Jim Vance, News 4, and an opinion intended to provide guidance for the future cases of D.C. Superior Court judge that made it possible here that more children will be wards of their city to be put up for adoption. The option, which written by Judge Stanley S. Harrison, made public yesterday after 36 children currently committed by the court order to the care of the Department of Human Resources, according to the department spokesman. The department now has 2,664 children which are committed to its care, with 152 eligible for adoption before Harris's ruling. The 36 affected by the judge's action includes 60 residents of Junior Village, the city's widely criticized facility by homeless children. Junior Village, which the city council has ordered closed at 1 of 6 residents as of yesterday, according to Norman Pearson, administrator of the DHR Social Rehabilitation Administration. Judge Harris's opinion arose from a girl case involving an infant girl born March 8, 1971. According to the opinion, the child's father is unknown or her mothers are drug out. The child was abandoned August 27, 1971. The infant was then placed on the hands of the Social Rehabilitation Administration. All parties agreed that it would be the best for her if she became an adopted child. Then there arose a felon problem, according to Harris. The D.C. Court of Reform and Criminal Procedure Act in 1970 states that the court cannot vest legal custody of a child in a department and agency institution such as the Department of Human Resources for more than 2 years. The statute that the 1970 Act replaced said that a juvenile could remain under court jurisdiction until reaching the age of 21. Under the new law, the Social Rehabilitation Administration refused to put the children up for the adoption unless the court gave them control over the children and they reached 21. Judge Harris said this position was simply not erroneous. The case established by Congress of time limits and dispositional orders affected juveniles in no way altered the power of the SRA to consent to the adoption of children in it. Consumer advocates charged yesterday that DC residents are losing $1,000 a year because of inadequate regulations and abuses of repossession of cars here. It's kind of little games, declared Philip Shupman, a University of Connecticut law professor, and there is only one consumer. Out of common result, the consumer gets served. The repossession system in the district is riddled with financial flagrant abuses. Benny L. Cass, a DC lawyer specializing in consumer problems, is affected. Ann Brown, chairman of the Consumer Affairs Committee for the DC Americans for the Democrats section, said that the lack of effective regulation in this field encourages not only a host of consumer abuses, but also a variety of events such as relationships between finance. The Federal Price Commission yesterday approved a $41 million annual rate increase by the Virginia Electric Power Company, which is granted June 28th by the State Corporation and Commission, the increase of which will be mean a boost of $9.43. In the median play bill, the average customer in the state has been delayed by the Price Commission pending review. The increase was $38 million less than Vic could originally requested. A special committee studied the status of women in Prince George's County. It charged yesterday that the county's 31,000 female heads of households are discriminated against in renting apartments and buying houses. There are parliament projects that federally refuse rent to women who are severe divorced. The committee's 220-page report said a woman with children must meet the same bedroom requirements as husband, wife, and children, charging them with act of discrimination against all the counts 334,000 women. The report also said women are restricted more than men by age and professional status of attaining a loan. Whoever married, divorced, and single one. Women comprise 20% of the alcoholics nationally, 50% of the alcoholics in Prince George's are women. In this engaged dissatisfaction with the way of the life of the county, the report said. A congressional commission investigating efficiency in the D.C. government has charged that city's corporation council office marred by efficiency, low morale, and high turnover rates. The Nelson Commission in the 7-page report not yet made public echoes charges made against the office during the past several years by members of the D.C. City Council and agency heads, and recommends that the mayor establishes that a simpler organizational structure for the office so that the manpower can be more efficiently and economically used for backlogs reduced. That the corporation and council establish a method to measure the production of its staff and determine wherever staff members are needed the most. That a more efficient method for establishing collective fines and imposed against drivers that are out of town cars, including Maryland and Virginia drivers, are that are fees for the torn independent and illegally parked autos. The increase the commission is named for its chairman, Representative Anker Nielsen, Republican of Minnesota, ranking GOP member of the House District Committee, was established in September 1970 to study the workings of the D.C. government and finds on the Corporation Council's officers similar to those of the Washington Post investigation in the office. At the same time, officials in district agencies that work closely with the Corporation Council have told the Post that the Corporation Council has improved greatly in the areas that most affect the quality and the life of the city, that the enforcement of housing, health, and pollution regulations. The Corporation and Council staff is the legal arm of the district government and providing services ranging from the prosecution of traffic cases to the drafting of local legislation. The Corporation Council office provides all other DC agencies with legal advice, including such areas as the legality and programming and the enforceability of various regulations. The Nielsen Commission found that the quality of legal advice dispensed by the office had significant impact to the effectiveness of the district government programs.
Towards noon, a lot of it's gone, but there still will be a few scattered showers going on, even as we head.
That logic you live how you feel, and as it comes to hot, humid weather, is no figment of human imagination. Is caused by the body working hard to cool itself. You are literally in a state of exercise while you're standing still. Your body is working a lot harder. Stay cool, explained Dr. Wilmes Yamamoto, specialist in psychology at the Georgia Washington University School of Medicine. The body must keep the temperature close to normal, but at 98.6 degrees otherwise, said Dr. Yamamoto, we're in the left-handed situation. The body normally gets rid of excess in about 3 ways: by raining it out of the air, by the evaporation of perspiration from the skin, and slight wind currents pulling in the head of the body. None of these methods works well on hot, humid days when the air is too hot and still stiff to draw out of the heated tubulating with the humidity to pull out the perspiration. You have then an system which is laboring and overload, said Dr. Estelle Warney, and physician at the Georgetown University School of Medicine. Effort to transfer heat from the bloodstream to the blood vessels near the skin lodge. That's why we get red in the face when you're hot, said Dr. Green.
But it's not ever going to make it here because it looks like right now the upper wind patterns will shift it right back out to sea. It probably will never become a hurricane either. It'll stay a tropical storm at best. So rain tonight, downpours and fog after midnight, 58 to 64 degrees.
At least 5 Washingtonians have died over the weekend as a direct result of the week-long oppressive heat that the D.C. Medical Examiner Office reported yesterday. That heat is expected to continue today, but the spawn loaders infected the past 7 days have been canceled. The examiner, Dr. James L. Luke, said 4 of the victims, all men who are 50 would collapse, were brought to city hospitals, died probably of heat stroke, but histories of other health problems. Local staff investigates about a third inning deficit in the district. Each year said the total of about 62 bodies, more than
Last week was the 90s.
twice the number for a normal weekend, were brought for the examination between Friday evening and yesterday morning. He said the certain number of those deaths could also be treated heat, but said he received the bodies too late to make a determination.
Hi again, everybody. Tom.
A fifth person known to have died of a heat stroke was attended by a private physician at the George Washington University, and an assistant at Luke said. 4 deaths in Baltimore were also attributed to heat. While the heat was expected today near 90 degrees, the smog that hung over the area for the past 7 days generally dissipated to the Baltimore Washington Council. Governor Ketzel to pollution alert. COJ officials have cautioned however that the pollution was still alert level. Suitland stayed the highest readings for the areas for the past few days. The officials warned people in Suitland with heart respiratory trouble or other sensitive conditions to curtail the outdoor activities. The commuters in the area were urged to perform carpools and take buses to work. COJ advisors says an accommodation of increased window help cloud cover yesterday helped prevent a buildup of automobile pollution. The oxidants resulted when sunlight energized the downward emissions of prominent substances that hate the covered area. The hot weather still spikes the trouble for the area's electrical power system, with outages being reported in scattered sections from Gaithersburg to southeast Washington. The Virginia Electrical Power Company said its customers were experiencing trouble only on an individual basis and not in whole neighborhoods. Eugene Auto was spoken by the Pennsylvania Electric Power Company emphasized that there was enough generating capacity here, but the demands on individual transformers and neighborhoods were probably too great. And the weather here now, Willard Scott. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rinker. Right now, our current conditions at 6 p.m. reports it's 89 in Nashville, 90 in Dulles, 89 in Andrews, 89 in Baltimore, and 77 in Norton.
Rays, the winner will leave Fenway tonight in sole possession of first place.
Okay, on to the weather scope.
And A-Rod is probably going to be in trouble.
Partly cloudy weather with scattered
More immediate trouble with his employer than you.
mainly afternoon evening showers were continuing for most of the nation. Same pleasant weather expected from the Great Lakes region and most of the Pacific states. It'll be cool or cooler in the Great Lakes region and the upper Ohio Valley.
Fine. He probably won't play until the beginning of
But hot humid weather continuing in the border area from the central and south Atlantic coast
people in the game.
to Texas.
A Stetson hat.
A major map features station front of stretch from Delaware to a low in central Colorado. Development cold front ranges from central Nevada to western Montana.
Right there, huh? Wow.
And another low was
Sensational looking.
located just north of Washington, and the high was centered over southeast of Texas.
Morrison. Same area of the field.
Okay, Washington area forecast.
From the fan and dives into the stick.
It'll go like this. Partly tonight, low in the mid 70s to be a 10% chance of rain tonight, and Wednesday podcast skies high in the upper 80s. For Maryland, it'll be
Winner takes over first place.
low tonight will be about upper 60s with a couple of little showers in Maryland, and for Virginia, podcast skies high about 90 degrees, and low tonight will be upper 60s in far west portion of the Commonwealth, and the upper 70s elsewhere. There'll be a chance of afternoon and evening showers. Wednesday, podcast skies high 90 degrees. Low Potomac, Chesapeake Bay. Today, podcast with a chance of afternoon and evening showers. Winds will be from the west at 5 to 10 miles to 5 to 9 knots. Fills will be 2 to 5 miles, except 1 mile less in early morning in fog and thunderstorms. Extended area outlook for Thursday and Friday. Becoming part of cloud weather with a chance of rain on Saturday. Highs will be averaging in upper 70s to upper 80s, and lows in the mid to upper 60s. Sunsets 8:26 p.m. Moon rises 8:07 p.m. High tide 8:39 p.m.
Brand new Subaru Impreza, the most beautiful
Pollen count for plantain and wind and 7 of tires considered undesirable.
miles per gallon.
National Weather Service forecast that Potomac River Sage at Little Falls will decrease from 5.2 million gallons per day to 4.7 million gallons per day by Wednesday. And that's gonna be it for the weather. I'm Will Scott here now. Bud Cates with it tonight. Sports. Take away, Mr. Cates.
Subaru.
They said we couldn't have a sale this big, but we are. It's Empire's big buy one get two free sale. Buy flooring with it.
In Atlanta, Bob Gibson last night and yesterday was given an assignment that he did a one starting pitcher for the National League in the All-Star game. His reluctance to extend himself in the baseball summer class at Touch Java University for the exhibition schedule started 8:30 last night of the American Leagues, which ended an 8-game losing streak in last July. It's a 7-5 underdog to the more powerful National League. Gibson, the St. Louis Flamethrower, who was one of its last 11 decisions after dropping first, so I said if I had Mike Drown versus I did when I pitched one inning, and I feel that the Montreal game is more important than the regular season game is more important than the All-Star game. The limit on the All-Star rules will probably knock Gibson out of Thursday's start. Earl Weaver, Baltimore American League manager, named his own Jim Palmer to oppose Gibson and then criticized the Cardinals' ace. There's something wrong when you are picked to the All-Star game and they say you don't want to participate. I'm sure that he just started, but this is retirement of my retirement. And he better not forget that some 95% of the All-Star game goes in the pension fund for the players. Very happy and do a hell of a job, especially after my popping out fear. The Bantam manager took some of the string out of the tech and he said it was the fault of Gibson, who was trying, but the press shouldn't have waited headlines like Gibson hopes to duck All-Star game. Then we flip-flopping in my head, and I guess that sells papers, and the more you put the paper, the better off we are. Boy, Lynch, like that Danny Murtaugh has come out of the semi-retirement, got the National League in this game. Said, I think that Bob might have different ideas. I named me the starter, and then we start. Gibson made light of the controversy. I didn't say whatever it was. He said it a laugh. I didn't say that I didn't want to pitch. What I want to do is pitch 189. If I didn't want to be here, I would have come up with a storm or a sore leg.
How do you do a summer clearance event?
In Atlanta, Bob Gibson, the great pitcher of the St. Louis Cardinals, set off a chain reaction All-Star game defenders when he dared to highlight that there were more important things left, like maybe a regular season contest. National League manager Danny Murtaugh was aghast. Did he say that? You're kidding? Gulped the old Pittsburgh manager, who is not easily surprised. We're not going into this game likely there is a more intense rivalry in this game than we average fan realizes we have an obligation when his opposite number, Baltimore and American League boss Earl Weaver, the champion of the All-Star game, is very, very, very important as a spectacle that people in the United States enjoy. Willie Mays approaching this 23rd All-Star game. The year more excited than ever because my 233 average. I'm not supposed to be here, but I don't care if I started out. I'm just glad to be around. Hank Aaron and 20 previous games. I'm not bored of being that All-Star. It's an honor.
They're going to try to, probably.
It's looking forward to playing. If I ever had at this point in my career, it's my All-Star performance. 186 per average, 1 homer and 59 at bat. Aaron, who appears much of this morning that the Dennis will be playing in the South Field for the first time in 2.5 months. And you know the Brooks Bubs, and now 16-time star over the long season. You seldom got started about one game. This was one that can get motivated, and you feel inside. Johnny Bench, the greatest thing I ever had was going to Washington.
Well, let me show you how much rain is going to fall after midnight tonight through tomorrow morning. You know,
in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, the Redskins were hit today by a freak accident yesterday that caused rare football injury to the position where they can least afford it. First string offensive tackle Jim Stoner was subsequently diagnosed as a severe tear ligament from the kneecap. It was estimated that he will be lost for as much as 3 months. He was taken to Washington tonight for surgery on his left night. The injury overshadowed the return of holdout Speedy Duncan to the training camp. The Redskins camp will be only 3 offensive tackles: Walter Ralph, Terry Homeland, and Snowden.